Are we good? Okay. Now it's loud. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Z. Yeah, so the first name sounds scary, but it's Z. Okay. Co-founder of Sandness Venture Studio. I'm looking for developers and ideas, so thank you. All right, let's start. The actual topic of the talk is about field service. I'll tell you why, and we'll talk more than just that. So, a little bit of history. You all know this happened, right? So back in 2008, this thing happened. This guy announced App Store in March, maybe actually App Store starts in October of 2008. Now, in April of 2009, we launched this product, which looks amazingly old. But anyway, so that's the timeline. I want to reiterate that because it's very exciting. Now, currently, we process over three mobile inspections per second. So TikTok and three inspections is processing throughout the system. What I want to say is that we capture the App Store moment, and now we have something that really works, right? Solving simple problems like inspection is not something amazing. If you flew here, you would have eaten food that we inspected. If you drive on bridges outside, you would have drive on bridges that we have inspected. Simple things, but it's capturing the App Store moment. Now, I think we're in an App Store moment. So you all know this guy, right? You all know this thing happened 3 weeks ago. And I think that was the App Store moment, and it's in November, right? So I think next year this time, we will have millions of apps. So I keep telling young people, back in 2008, the first Christmas of App Store, some people were around back then, right? So did you put out apps that Christmas? What kind of app did you put out?
That was an app for lottery drawings. Lottery drawings.
Oh, lottery drawings, exactly. That Christmas.
Yeah, that was like a top app in the news section above the finger post app.
Exactly. I put out a rock, paper, scissors app that Christmas. And you know what's the top app of that Christmas, 2008 Christmas? Top app, anybody? Most downloaded app. Or categories of apps. It's a forwarding app. Forwarding apps. Yeah. I'm not going to go into you can look up. There are many of them. Now we're in kind of that forwarding app era of generative AI. So don't build forwarding apps. And that's it, right? So how do we capture this opportunity now? So for what we were doing inspection, we're doing 2 to 3 things right now. So just want to share with you. Form building, kind of like what Scott was doing. We're doing very boring forms, inspection forms. Nothing is more boring than inspection. We usually convert 200 pages of inspection into digital, right? So right now, while we can keep this to our customers, you go build your form. They just type it, and actually now we have a way for them to just take a picture of the form, and then it converts. It's amazingly easy, actually. It's amazingly scary. Actually, a lot of our form builder partners, we need those form building partners. But we're going to release this in Q1, which is a very simple LLM-based form building, right? So you type, you say what kind of form you want. In the back end, it's function calling, right? So LLM function calling. Our form builder takes API. So as soon as we kind of teach the bot how to call the API, it knows how to call the API at the right time. So that's the first thing I think all of you should think about is function calling. Things that you are already doing, export it, like allow LLM to do it for you, right? That's why I asked that. Like, I feel like I'm becoming a teacher rather than a developer. Anyway, so that's the number one thing. Secondly is code generation, and it's kind of also obvious. Now, we have this product that is kind of like a workflow application that help us call other APIs in the backend. Now, within these nodes, that we used to let customer write simple code that future data or massage the data, simple JavaScript that we allow customers to put in. And now, obviously, all of these are simple code. They're not complex. It's like process record by record. How do you want each record to be processed? It used to be we will either we either have our team write those code or have partners write those code. Now we can turn LLM back to customer and they can do that. Right? So both of those examples are kind of simple. And I think for what we're doing field service applications, I believe the holy grail is this. So right now, because we're doing a lot of inspections, fundamentally inspection survey, those are what we call quantitative research, right? So you take how many cars drive through. We also count salmons. There are a lot of these types of quantitative research. Now, historically, we couldn't do qualitative research because that's just taking a lot of information and use human to analyze those data. But I think through LLM, or not just LLM, to Gen AI, we could merge the two. Now, I don't have the answer to that, but I want to throw it out. Maybe we'll have a discussion later. Used to be I think computer science or coding was very good at structural data, tables, and forms. And people are much better at narration, paragraphs, and interviews. Right? In the past, we can't really process it. We're not good at these. We're not very good at, when I say we, is our products. We're not very good at this side. And I think maybe there's a chance that through Gen AI, we can merge the two. I don't have an answer yet, but that's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about, right? The thing that I was just talking about, form builder, code generation, to me those are very obvious and we all should do that. But this is kind of taking it to the next level, thinking through how people are going to, if I use inspection as an example, how would people do inspection in the future? Is that still filling in the form, right? Because they've been filling in form forever, from paper to laptop to mobile, right? In the AI world, do they continue to do inspection in the form? Now, about 5 years, maybe 10 years ago, we all believed nobody will do inspection because it will all be sensors. That is coming, but that didn't come fast enough, or didn't, I still have so many clients, customers who are filling in forms. I don't understand why, but that pays the bill, so I'm not impressed. But as I'm thinking about this new App Store moment, I want to think about how can we change the behavior, the customer behavior, right? And I think that's the major opportunity. That how can we capture that? So I don't have much, right? So that's why incentive we want to launch more products or more startups. So in next year, our goal is to use RAG to solve simple business problems, right? And you have heard about RAG. I don't have to. All of you are experts in that. So I would actually rather ask, what can we do? I'm coming to the like the question about like the couple questions. One is, how do we use RAG to solve simple business problems? What are those problems? How will business change? And that's one direction, right, from the business direction. The other is a staffing direction, right? That's the question I asked God. Like, do we still hire developers, right? I'm a developer, okay, so like I'm not trying to say we don't need developers. But I kind of feel like we may need a slightly different skill set from coding to teaching bots how to code. I don't know, I'm exploring, right? So that's why it's a very short talk. I mean, I know I'm not going to use all the time, so like, but that's it. I mean, I want to have a discussion more than a talk. And, this is my LinkedIn. If you want to LinkedIn me, if you have an idea of how development could change, or how do we apply RAG into problems, if you have a solution that we should use, if you want to work together, love to talk. Any question, discussion? How do you think, what kind of application should we put RAG into? Anyone is building a startup in RAG? Yeah.
Did you already change your product roadmap or like product features as a consequence of?
Oh yeah.
So when did you change?
Oh yeah. Well, so right, like 2 years. Actually, going back to just the inspection product, right? Simply inspection products, right? We used to think that we just make it better, more feature, more sensors. We add sensors, we add drones, we add like all these things. Now I'm thinking, now I'm actually spending a lot of time thinking about how to go beyond forms. Now, the two things I show you, they're still based on, it's kind of like what Scott was talking about, still based on the old paradigm. We have these forms. Applying AI to the forms will be generating forms with AI and generating code that drives the form with AI, right? So that's still the same paradigm. The new paradigm needs to go beyond form. I don't have an answer to that yet, but that's the direction that I'm thinking. One of the thought process is that I observed, so we recently remodeled our living room, and I observed the guy who came to the house and did estimate. He didn't kind of use a form. He was like just taking pictures and measuring, and then at the end he was like, okay, $40,000, right? I don't know where that come from, but like imagine if that is done in an app, right? So if someone gave him an app to do the estimation, he would have filled in line by line, right? Size of the room, carpet, or whatever, right? He would have to pay. That's kind of, so the way he did was very unstructured. In his head, he has some idea of what needs to be captured, and then he did his calculation. If we have to, the old paradigm was that if we have to put that into an app, we would first have to put it as a structure first, right? That's how we developer will think about it. Can AI change that? Can we, and I think Scott said it's already turning. It's like, can I make it so that you just start talking, typing to the agent, and the agent knows, oh yeah, I mean, you are doing an estimate on the living room, and you should have this and that, and I kind of understand what you meant by like width and length, and maybe I'll ask you what kind of carpet you want, and I'll generally understand, or maybe the bot actually filled in the form, right? So that could be a paradigm shift. That's kind of what I'm working. Yeah.
So I think generally speaking, this is a big problem in a lot of different industries, the structured data and the unstructured data. So what I saw in the logistics is you might have a large retailer who's trying to distribute to a bunch of warehouses that go out to stores. They'll go and they'll put a proposal out there to, let's say, a carrier who's going to use air, land, sea to move all of these goods. They've got to go through this structured analysis based on this document that comes in, and then they have all these subcontractor agreements, and all of that is unstructured data out there. But they have very specialized people who know how to price things, who know all of that type of thing. And these things have to interoperate in a way that often does not work out very well. And there's many reasons it doesn't work out well. But ultimately it's because there's too much knowledge in the unstructured that really contradicts the structured. And they can't reconcile that because people can't keep all that information in their head over a sustained period of 3 or 4 proposal and counter proposal and counter proposal. And so I think there's a lot of that can be solved in this. It's just, how do you create a general way to solve it? Or do you focus on application specific today, hoping for general solutions in the future?
Right, and I think one of the direction that I'm also thinking about, and on startups that we want to fund and work with, is the idea of an assistance. And it's kind of a little bit of what you were talking about. Right now, today, you use human to do that. Like you have higher level human, senior consultant, low level consultant, right? The difference is senior consultant has been through many projects. In their head is the project that failed 15 years ago. Now they know how to react, right? Can we build a system? Can we build agents that has that level of senior agent, low level junior agent? That is, I mean, the multi-agent development that now we're talking about. And I think that would be very fascinating if we get to a point where even agents have experience level, which, I mean, could basically be just knowledge, right? So this senior agent has a bigger database. You pay more, have a bigger database, so this agent can remember more and can process more. That becomes a senior agent, right? That would be a very crazy world. But I think we're kind of getting there. There are a lot of things that agents, and when I say agents, AI agents, right? They do better than human, right? Like we already know writing simple paragraphs. I can't well, you see many of these slides and slides that you see today are generated by AI. Well, can I draw this out? Well, probably give me a year or two. I can draw this. But using AI is no time. There is a lot of these type small tasks that's already agents better than we do. Average human, right? I'm not talking about experts. There'll always be experts who do these better than agents can do. But going back to what you're talking about, I think the direction that we want to think and I want to explore and want to discuss more is on the assistant. How can we empower people with better assistance? If we're talking about logistics, how can you empower people who are in the field or maybe driving, have a better assistant? Right now they may have to call back to the office to ask certain things. Can that become an agent? Right? Yeah, so that would be fascinating.
Yeah, one issue with the true augmented generation is like the initial embedding. What kind of embedding can you use, and how do you truncate your text that will have the impact on your eventual application based on the RAG? Right. Is there the best practice that you see on this area?
Right. No, of course. Right. So that is. That separates the winner versus the losers in the next couple of years, right? So I assume we're developers, right? We're thinking about these things. So the question is, in augmentation, right? In retrieval augmentation, the key is how you embed. The key is how you chunk, right? So right now we're all, I don't think we're all, but a lot of us are using the API provided by LangChain, provided by OpenAI. Those are general chunking, right? General relationship building. And I mean, within a few months, you will have industry-specific relationship building model to chunk through the data, right? Because not every PDF should be calculated into vector the same way, right? In general, like when you hear apple and fruit, they're related, right? But maybe in logistics, there are different relationships in the language that we should build into a model that will chunk through the relationship slightly different. So if you're a developer, actually that would be a great thing to invest your time in. Of course, you use the API that's available in the market, but that's a great way to differentiate yourself, to think through. Like we're working with one of our portfolio company is doing market research, right? So in market research, they interview a lot of users, but when people speak, it used to be a very experienced user researcher understand what people meant. And that's kind of thing, that is kind of the thing that we're working on is, can we chunk through enough information to build a new model that actually dissect the chunking, not just the chunking side, that's one thing too, right? But actually calculate the relationship. So I'm not answering your question, but I think you should spend more time because that, like, you can see that's the next question. So as a developer, that should be what you invest your time in.
Sorry, maybe follow-up question. We're talking about the AI assistant, the agent. Is this can be enhanced more on the vector database side with the RAG pattern, or it's more like you have to fine-tuning the foundation model to get it to the level that you are talking about previously?
Right.
When you answer the gentleman's question.
I mean, the answer obviously is it depends, right? So the question is this augmentation, right? Is this embedding versus fine-tuning, right? So like classically, fine-tuning is when you want to teach a model new skill, right? When it knows how to code, you want to write poem, it's a new skill. So that should be fine-tuning. Embedding is the same thing, like you already know how to code, but between JavaScript and Python, maybe it's slightly different. That may be able to be done in embedding. Now, I'm spending a lot of my energy on embedding because to me, as a venture builder, that is the application layer that I see a ton of values, right? Versus fine-tuning, which is more deep tech. So the pyramid is like this, it's reverse pyramid, right? Less people can do or knows how to do fine-tuning. Now they make more money, they're more powerful, but I see a lot more application, a lot more value to be made at the application layer. And that layer is on embedding right now. Maybe in 2 years, fine-tuning will be cheap enough. Today, I don't think it's cheap enough. You can change my mind if you know how to fine-tune cheaper. And those are coming too, right? So like you can see, but today, in the next couple of years, I see like thousands and thousands of startups just by implementing RAG, just by being good at it, and then apply it into a problem set. Okay. Anything else? So, yeah, Z, I'm looking for developers and ideas, and just want to build more stuff. So, thank you.